All right. Good evening, universe, and welcome to the fourth and final installment of the division preview shows. Tonight we are featuring the South Division. All 8 teams in the South Division. We're going to reveal their rosters for the 2022 season. You will have a say in it if you're watching or if you're going to appear tonight. We may have guests. We may not have guests. We'll just have to see. Invites have been sent. But if you're watching, you can comment along, and we're going to consider every voice that we hear tonight. Obviously, we can't make everyone happy all the time, but we're going to see what we can do. Again, as I've been stating now for 2 years, this is my real hair. I'm in desperate need of an actual haircut, but we are going to feature because they got such a response last week. We're going to do caps as we get to each team. And I posted what order we're going in. And we're going to start with the St. Louis Cardinals tonight. So here we go. St. Louis Cardinals cap. And the Cardinals team has pretty much been determined. If you're a fan of the Cardinals or just a fan of the universe in general, you're going to have a chance to vote on how this looks come opening day. But the 40-man has been determined, and we're going to start by talking about what players have been added to the Cardinals roster for season 3, which kicks off 4 weeks from tonight, March 25th. So here we go. The St. Louis Cardinals, who have yet to make the postseason, they are one of 12 teams not to make the postseason yet in the Utopian baseball universe, are going to add 1982 World Series MVP Darryl Porter as their third catcher. Their third first baseman this year is going to be Jim Bottomley. They're also adding David Freese, who I believe was a World Series MVP in 2011. I'm not 100% sure if he was MVP or not, but obviously he had the memorable Game 6 against the Texas Rangers. Cardinals are also adding David Eckstein, Ray Lankford, Pepper Martin, and a couple of old school pitchers, Pud Galvin and Jesse Haynes. So again, at some point in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you guys are going to have a say in who actually makes the opening day roster. 25 of these 40 men will be in the opening day roster. And then throughout the season, the Cardinals will have an opportunity to make moves as needed based on performance throughout the season. So that's a look at your Cardinals. Obviously, we know the bigger names, Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, Stan Musial, Lou Brock, Bob Gibson. Gibson, by the way, has been announced the starting pitcher for opening day for the third straight year for the Cardinals. Cardinals open their season against the Detroit Tigers, and this just in, it will be Jack Morris versus Bob Gibson on opening day. Tigers and Cardinals in St. Louis, Friday, March 25th. That's going to be unreal. So that's what the Cardinals look like. And then let's just get right to the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City Royals roster has been pretty much set. And again, you guys actually had a voice in the Royals starting rotation, and we're going to talk about that here shortly. But Kansas City Royals, we're going to be adding Mike McFarland as a third catcher for the Royals. Royals actually ended up getting one of the bigger names in the 19th century pool of players we added. This guy was actually the home run king prior to Babe Ruth. His name is Roger Connor. He's going to be invited to spring training as a third first baseman. If he makes the team, he'll be most likely backing up Eric Hosmer or working on some sort of a platoon there. We also have Steve Balboni coming on this roster as well. Mark Grudzelanek will be added to the roster. Kevin Seitzer is coming to the universe in 2022. UL Washington adds some speed on the base paths. Amos Otis and Kevin Apier has been voted on by the universe as the fourth starter for this team. The rotation has been set by Ned Yost. It's going to be David Cohn, Brett Saberhagen, Giordano Ventura, Kevin Apier, and Charlie Liebrandt to start the season. Also invited to spring training for the Royals at starting pitcher will be Paul Splittorff, Dennis Leonard, Bud Black, and Mark Gubazaw. So that's what the Royals look like. 5 minutes into the show, we're already 2 teams down. We're looking to add a guest here very shortly. If I can see him pop up again. John, let's see. Let's see if John is here. We're gonna unmute.
Yeah, I'm here.
John Keeney's in the building. How are you doing, John?
Good. How are you, Joey?
I'm doing good. We got the Cardinals and Royals out of the way because I figured we didn't really have a guest here to kind of speak on them, and we only had a few slots that we needed to fill, so we did that prior to the show. So John is here, and because he's our only guest as of right now, we might have maybe another one later. John is essentially going to be acting as GM for many of these teams tonight.
Oh boy!
Along with the viewers watching, if anyone's watching and wants to throw in their 2 cents, we've already got our first spam comment from YouTube. So if you're watching, don't click on that because I don't know who Frida Ramase is. It looks like it's some sort of spam, so don't click that. And Laura Stone is here, says good luck to the guys. Have a great show. So, John, you're a Mets fan. I'm a Mets fan, but we're talking South Division tonight.
Sure.
Maybe we just sabotage this division and give them some shitty players. What do you say?
I think that's a really good idea, to be honest, Joey.
We're going to do the Braves at the end of the show, and we might just throw some scabs on that team because, I mean, come on, they've won 2 championships in the universe. They're the World Series champions.
Already,
enough frosting on that cake.
Yeah. No, this is a lot of fun. I mean, I just hope my my old memory serves me well here, with some of the older players and even some of the newer ones, and hopefully I'm pretty sharp with it. But, I do have a lot of great memories, and I have a lot of experience watching baseball over the years in all divisions and all teams. So we'll see. And but I do agree with you about the Braves. Maybe we'll give them a couple stabs and don't give them like the likes of Eddie Matthews and Henry Aaron.
There you go. Well, again, and if either one of us gets stuck tonight, we've been using this resource for the last 3 weeks. It's called Now Taking the Field, Baseball's All-Time Dream Teams for All 30 Franchises by Tom Stone. So it's here as a security blanket if we need it. Before we get to our next team, which is going to be the Tampa Bay Rays, I just want a quick programming reminders for the next couple weeks or so as we build towards opening day. This Monday, which is February 28th, we're going to kick off spring training in the Utopian Baseball universe. We're going to have 16 games for each team over a 19-day period. We're going to have a spring training welcome show, if you will, at 3 o'clock Central on Monday. So it's just going to be me reporting from the different camps and kind of what's going on. I posted what the matchups are going to be. So that's 3 o'clock Monday. Tuesday at 7 is the season finale of Having a Catch, and we're going to do something completely different. My guest is Tim St. Clair, who's a good friend of mine. We're going to talk for about half hour, and then we're going to stream one of our favorite baseball movies, Long Gone. That's going to be a lot of fun. So it's a longer show on Tuesday night, but hopefully you guys can check in. And then we're going to have 3 Xbox streams during spring training to kind of get ready for opening day. That's going to be Friday, March 11th, Monday, March 14th, and Friday, March 18th. All about 3 o'clock games. If you can't check it out live, we'll have them archived for the rest of the time. And then just announced earlier today, our big opening day preview show is going to be Thursday night, March 24th, the night before opening day, 7 o'clock. We're thinking of going about 90 minutes that night. We're going to look at every game, every pitching matchup, try to get some fun guests. And then Friday morning at 11 a.m., we're going to go live for about a half hour right before the game starts. So a lot of fun things happening. We got trivia coming pretty soon. And again, John Keeney's here. He's going to help mold some of these rosters tonight. John, just off the top of your head, give me your Mount Rushmore of, in your opinion, the 4 greatest Tampa Bay Rays of all time.
It's a tough one because they've only been around since 1998. Give me a second here. I did a little bit of research. It's funny. I was thinking a little bit earlier. We were doing a kind of a similar type of a list. Can you hear me, Joey?
Yes. Yeah.
On in our group Uncensored, best players for each team, and I put together the list. Myself and my co-admin, Zachary Kennedy, split up. He did most of it, but the teams I got Tampa Bay was one of them, and I found it really interesting at the time when I was doing research. Beyond my old memory, and you think about guys like Wade Boggs, but Wade Boggs played with Tampa Bay at the very end of his career. It was like he was basically done at that point. Obviously, all his best days were spent, with the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah.
But so you can't put him in there. Obviously, you have guys like who are around, right now, like Rosarena, guys like that, maybe haven't made their stamp yet. But again, if memory serves me, that they've only been around since, is it 1998?
Yeah. So I think Tampa and Arizona came in 98. Arizona had almost immediate success, actually winning a World Series in their fourth year in the league. 2001, I believe that was.
Yeah.
Tampa's
they've had a lot of. Oh, I'm sorry, Joey, but they've had a lot of success. Over that period of time, they've, they've been in a couple of World Series there, and with even within a few years, I think they're the team that lost to the Phillies in
08.
In 08, and then obviously again to the Dodgers in 2020, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to give you the best player in the organization's history, I have to say it's Longoria. Kiermaier is definitely up there. I would even put Rosarena in there. From a current standpoint. Carlos Pena.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to be. This may not be the best, but that's why we're collaborating.
Sure.
Carlos Pena, and then that's a rough one. I'll leave that one to you for a fifth one, because it's. I think when I put together the list, they had a lot of players that were bunched up to me in the same kind of category, because the way that organization has been put together and their success, they don't have any real stars. I mean, they very rarely do from the standpoint of big name players. I think part of that has to do with the where they play, their revenue and their fan support, and the the visibility they get from Major League Baseball and the networks until they make the playoffs, and they've had a lot of success. But at the same time, I still think people don't recognize how effective they have been with a pretty minimal payroll, over the years. And because I think they have a great farm system and they have great scouts, but they still don't have, recognizable, names. Aside from Longoria had that a little bit, but I still don't think a lot of people know how great he was.
Yeah. So some of the names that have led this team in the last couple of years of the Utopian, and this is a team that postseason last year lost the South Division wildcard game to Durham, but Fred McGriff, we've got Willie Adames, Carl Crawford, Austin Meadows. Tampa had the best pitcher in the universe last year. Negro League Hall of Famer Hilton Smith was voted as pitcher of the year. So they got David Price, Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest get of the offseason, signing Cy Young to anchor this staff. So not only
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So you're going to have last year's pitcher of the year, and then you add a guy who's
so you added him as a free agent.
Yeah, we did that on purpose when we created this 2 years ago. We wanted to leave several names off every year so that we could make these big splashes. And look at this rotation for the season coming up here. We have Hilton Smith, Cy Young,
wow,
Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow.
Glasnow is another guy, right? Yeah.
So what we have to do tonight,
we have to hash this out. And Carl Crawford is another guy I really liked. You mentioned him. Zobrist played for them too.
Yeah, we got Zobrist. So what we need to do tonight,
David Price. Did you mention him?
Yep, we got David Price.
Okay.
Scott
Kazmir, who is our little, probably pet peeve with the Mets. Then we gave him up. He had some good years with them too.
Yep. So there's a couple other names, like they signed Cy Young and some other names that obviously Rays fans are familiar with. We're going to add Travis Lee at first base.
Right.
Obviously, you got to add Wander Franco at shortstop. And we're going to add 3 outfielders that have yet to make their debut in the Utopian: Desmond Jennings, Rocco Baldelli, and Steven Souza.
Yeah, I included them in that list I was mentioning earlier that we you probably saw this what we put together. It was a long because they were all bunched in around the same category except for a few guys like Crawford and obviously McGriff too was a big one I missed and you mentioned him. But yeah, I mean not a long history but a pretty rich one.
Well, one thing we can do tonight, we have the luxury because there's 3 positions we have to fill tonight for Tampa. We're looking for a third catcher, another second baseman, and a third baseman. They don't necessarily have to have been with the Rays. They could be guys from the past that we just haven't thought of for the other franchises.
All right.
One of the guys that we were thinking of a couple weeks back was Manny Trio. Manny Trio was a nice little player in the 80s.
Yeah. Who's a Philadelphia.
Yeah, we added him to the Phillies. Yep. So I've got the resource here. We're going to see if we find any recognizable names and try to fill out this Rays roster. So
all right.
They're actually the last team featured in this book. So I'm going all the way to the back. So the 2 catchers we have right now are Jose Molina and DNR Navarro, if I'm saying that name correctly.
Well, I'm sure you are.
So the book suggests that the next guy would be Toby Hall, who played 7 years for the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
Has a 5.7 WAR, 44 homers, 260 hitter.
Vaguely remember him.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't say I know a lot about him though. Well, you said really all we need to know. I mean, decent catcher. I mean, those numbers aren't eye-popping, obviously, but you don't look for that necessarily from all your catchers. I don't know what his defense was like. The WAR plays into it.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with him. Well, if there's any Rays fans watching, if you guys want to say in this, obviously, in the comments. But for now, we're going to go with Toby Hall.
Yeah.
And then at second base, we have Zobrist and Brandon Lau.
All right.
So we got to add a third here to compete. And so their suggestion is Logan Forsythe, who played only 3 years with the Rays. Another 260 hitter, 9.4 WAR, 43 homers. Relatively recent player. He had 15 homers twice.
Yeah. No, I remember pretty well.
Okay. So again, we'll just kind of pencil him in here now. Logan Forsythe. In the last position, third base, Longoria is going to get most of the at-bats. We have Ikinori Awamura, again, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
And then they really don't have anyone outside of Longoria. So maybe this could be a position where we pull from, maybe another team.
Yeah. I don't have the full list in front of you of what who you would have available there. I mean, obviously
Sure.
there's a large pool. I don't know. I mean,
Well, I've got the list in front of me. Obviously,
okay.
I don't have it all by memory, but there was a guy.
You could throw Boggs in there.
Well, I do. It's funny. I have Boggs as a starting third baseman.
But he's got to be from somebody else, right? You got to be with the Red Sox, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I'm kind of being facetious
Sure.
with that one.
How about a guy? So this is a guy that was actually he played a little third, little DH. He was on the '82 Brewers, and I think prior to that, I think he had a nice little career in Texas. What about a Roy Howell?
Yeah, I think that's pretty decent. Another guy would be, pardon me as I check a couple things here, and this is going back to like the Devil Ray days. But remember Ty Wigginton? He's an old Met too.
Did he play for the Rays?
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Well, he played. See, he was a kind of a utility guy.
Yeah,
if you remember. But listen, that guy had a pretty solid career. He played a lot of third base, and he played a lot of third base with the Rays.
Let's do Wigginton.
Yeah, I think that because he really was. I mean, I am checking it right now, and I kind of thought, I liked him with the Mets. I'm sure you did too. I mean, he was no superstar, but it was a couple of years. I think it was in the mid 2000s, and it wasn't like a tremendous amount of games, but he hit. I'm looking at it right now. He hit about 275 with 40 home runs and about 220 games total.
Yeah.
So and he wore the uniform. So
let's do it. Ty Wigginton.
Yeah, I liked him. He was a pretty hard-nosed player.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So there's Tampa Bay. Now we're going to move on to the Houston Astros.
Okay.
And I'll be
My
representing
favorites.
with an old 45s hat here.
There you go.
Now the Astros, I pretty much have set up. So what we're going to
do, they're kind of an easy one, aren't they?
They're easier than Tampa.
Yeah.
I think Tampa and Florida are going to be the two toughest tonight.
That was a tough one. I'm glad you started out with Tampa because for me that was tough, especially being in the American League and having a little bit more knowledge in my old memory. I keep referring to that, but from the older days, I mean, not that I don't love the game now and I watch it all the time, but Tampa is not a team that was on my radar as much as some of the others. But I did thankfully have that research I did, for our polls in the Uncensored group. But anyway, I digress, and I want to go back to you.
So we have, again, just for you guys watching at home, where we expanded the rosters we had 33-man rosters 2 years ago. We cut it to 30 last year. We're going to 40 this year. So some teams are adding 10, some are adding less because we're just bringing back guys from 2020. There's going to be 7 new players that we're adding to the Astros this year. Glenn Davis is going to be making his debut.
Nice.
At first base. Doug Rader at third base. Adam Everett at shortstop.
Remember him.
And then we're going to be adding 2 outfielders. Terry Puel, who Astros fans will be familiar with.
Yes, I remember.
A guy who was actually I believe a 6-time stolen base leader early in Major League Baseball. Billy Hamilton is going to be joining the Houston Astros to play center field. And then adding Hall of Fame pitcher Burleigh Grimes to the starting rotation. Houston's been pretty thin at starting pitcher the last 2 years.
Right.
And then making his Utopian debut, Jim Bouton, author of one of the greatest baseball books of all time, which, because I'm getting terribly old, I can't think of the name of the book right now. I've read it 100 times. What is it called, John?
I think this book came up in the conversation that you and I and Tim, is it the same book?
I can't think of the name of the book.
It's, I have an older brain.
Ball 4.
Huh?
It's called Ball 4.
Ball 4. Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to call it Foul Ball for a second, but it's Ball 4. Thank you, Tim. So, Jim Bouton's going to be coming to the Houston Astros. Their opening day starter is going to be J.R. Richard. It looks like Grimes is going to be kind of in the middle of that rotation, maybe 3 or 4.
Bill,
Obviously, got Bagwell, Biggio.
do you have Bill Nepper in there? I'm sorry, Bob Nepper.
I don't. But again, and I want to stress this to anyone watching, if we don't get to all of your favorites, we're going to be adding players every single year. So if you don't see Nepper this year, you're going to probably see him next year.
Yeah, you can't. You only have so many spots. You're right. I mean, it's only
and I think the most the to keep it fresh and to keep it fun is we always want to keep adding folks so that if you just had the same rosters every year, I think it would be less fun. So
one of the guys from the Astros that wouldn't necessarily come up on the radar, but hey, you might want to consider it, and obviously not for this year. But I don't know what it was about him. And I believe his son played in the major leagues. Remember Jose Cruz?
Oh, I got Cruz. Yeah,
you have him, right? So I mean, he was a beast, and I think he
played pretty well,
right field. But he's not. He's off the radar, kind of. And I'm glad you have him. I remember him kind of being a Met killer, if I'm being honest. We
got obviously all the obvious names: Bagwell, Biggio, Correa.
Sure.
Springer, Altuve, Caminiti, then some kind of old school guys: Bob Watson, Jim Wynn, Lance Berkman, Billy Wagner closing games out for Houston. We got Mike Scott is on the roster,
and we all know about him.
Yeah, so we might have to see if the Mets can.
That's solid. That's very solid.
Yeah, on paper, this is going to be a competitive team, and this team was in the South Division wildcard game in 2020. Atlanta beat them and went on to win the championship.
Do you not have Nolan Ryan with them and with maybe the Angels or the Rangers? Is that what happened?
I've got Nolan with the Angels.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Some of those, there's a lot of players like Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson. You could have gone either way.
That's like similar to like a guy like Rod Carew. You can go Twins or Angels. With a guy like that. I mean, probably more Twins if you're being really honest. But he had probably one of his best years of his career. I was actually seeing it earlier when he was in his mid-30s with the Angels in like 82 or 83. So that's just an example of that. You never know. I mean, even in those days. You had guys that stayed with one team their entire career, and then you had guys like that are legends that somewhat bounced around. Even this, a guy like Ryan played for what, 4 teams? I mean, that's unusual.
Ryan played for the first for
the Mets. He played in Mets
original expand. Yeah.
I mean, then
27 years.
Angels, Rangers, and Astros. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's 4.
All right. So 4 up, 4 down. We're going to actually move on to one of the tougher teams again, the Miami Marlins.
Yeah.
So I picked up this hat at Bergstrom's. It's like a discount store. I got this for like $6. I've never even worn it, so it doesn't even fit me right now. But the Miami Marlins actually were one of these teams in the offseason that, again, made some big splashes, signing first baseman Sadahara O, who's technically the home run king. He hit over 860 homers in his professional career. They also signed Hall of Fame third baseman Jimmy Collins. Luis Castillo is going to join the team this year.
All right.
Oscar Garcia. Preston Wilson, and then a favorite of mine and maybe a favorite of yours, Al Leiter joining the Marlins in 2020.
Yeah. Wasn't he on that 97 team that won the World Series?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. And Preston, by the way, is Mookie's stepson, I believe.
Yes. So the holes we need to fill for this team are similar to Tampa. We need a catcher, we need a shortstop, and we need a starting pitcher. So let's look at the reference book here. Again, we're going to look at catcher first. If you're watching this right now and you own this book, it's page 573. And again, the catchers we have in Florida right now, we got Jared Salta-Lamacchia and Francisco Cervelli. We have JT Realmuto in
You don't
Philly,
have
and we have
you
Charles
don't have
Johnson in Colorado. What's that?
yeah, you don't have Pudge obviously here. You have him elsewhere.
Texas.
Right, that makes sense.
So
Charles Johnson was a very well known as a very solid to really close to being even better than that defensive catcher.
yeah,
Remember him? He had a hell of an arm.
yeah. Unfortunately, we have him in Colorado, and we have
Okay.
JT Realmuto in Philly.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
So we're going to have to look elsewhere.
Let me take a quick peek here. You have JT gone. You have Johnson's gone.
We might have to go the journeyman route.
Yeah, Pudge
here.
is gone.
Yeah.
What about Santiago?
Benito, I've got in San Diego.
Yeah, that makes sense too. It does. What about Mike Redmond?
I don't believe Mike Redmond is spoken for, so
he actually is the first guy to play and manage for the Marlins. You know, he played 7 seasons there. I mean, he's not a big name, but he's top. I'd say he's top 6, 7 on the list of catchers who actually played for the Marlins. It was the late.
How do I spell his last name? Because
it's Redmond. It's R-E-D.
Yeah.
D as in David, M as in Mary, O-N-D.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, listen, again, he's one of those guys that I'm not, I'm looking at this right now. I'm not, I wouldn't be able to come up with his name easily myself, but it was like late 90s and he was pretty solid.
Let's do it. Mike Redmond.
Yeah, he wore the uniform, so you know what I mean?
Yep. Shortstop, we have Hanley Ramirez and Edgar Renteria.
Yeah, those would be the top, absolutely top 2.
And then the book would suggest, again, it's another player that's already on another roster, so we're going to have to look elsewhere for Florida. Again, this is a tough roster. If we end up going outside of the franchise, that's okay as well.
It's okay. Yeah. They've only been around since '93, along with the Rockies, I believe.
Yeah.
Both came into the league at the same time. Expansion.
Yep. 93.
93. You have it's just not as much of a history. You have
I'm going to actually, right now, I'm looking at a website that has their opening day lineups for every season.
Yeah. Are you?
As a cheat. Let's see. We got 93. Walt Weiss, I have in Oakland. Kurt Abbott, I'm not too familiar with.
See, the thing about some of these teams, especially like Tampa Bay early on, but again, they had a lot of success. But Florida too, Miami, quote unquote. A lot of the big names for them made appearances with these teams, but the organization was unable to hold on to them over a longer period of time. So, you would, a lot of these guys, like we already mentioned a lot of them, but, they wind up with other teams where that would be the organization, the newer organization that they would wind up with, on your roster.
Sure.
So I think that you're right. I think that, Ozzie Guillen I'm seeing here.
What about former Met Adini Echeverria?
Yeah, Heck is a good candidate because he was with the Marlins before the Mets and then before he went to the Braves.
Yeah.
Now he's not he hasn't had. Listen, his shining moment was I think it was in 2019 when he left the Mets, or maybe it was in 2012. I think it was 2019. Yeah, it was, and he had that like incredible run. Do you remember that? With the Braves, hit like 330, making insane plays. Played a big role with them, defensively, which we all knew he was incredible defensively.
Yeah,
at shortstop, and actually moved around a little bit and very versatile. But couldn't hit with us and couldn't stay in the field and whatnot. But now I think he's playing in Japan with Chiba.
Yeah.
But anyway, he did play with the Miami, so you're right.
So the last spot in the pitching here right now, we've got Levon Hernandez, Dontrell Willis, Jose Fernandez, Josh Beckett, Al Leiter, and then Pablo Lopez, Sandy Alcantara, AJ Burnett, and we need one more.
Okay.
Again, we'll go to the reference book here.
Yeah, I would do the reference book on that one because I wouldn't be able to go that far with Miami with their pitching staff, even historically.
And again, Charlie Huff is in Texas.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you look at some of these guys that you would put there that made appearances for the Marlins, that might be bigger names. I mean, I'm sure most of them would wind up on different rosters.
So I'm gonna give you a final say here. There's two names: Ricky Nolasco, 8 years, 81 and 72, or Brad Penny, 6 years, 50 and 43. We got Burnett.
You do have Burnett. Okay, I liked him a lot. I like Burnett. I think he was also with Toronto, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But he had some good years in the Marlins, so that's fair. So you're saying it's between?
No, we'll say between Ricky Nolasco and Brad Penny.
Yeah, I remember Ricky and Brad Penny too. I remember Penny. I remember a little bit more. I'll go with Penny.
Brad Penny. All right.
Yeah.
So that'll do it actually for Florida. Then we're going to add Brad Penny and Al Leiter to the starting pitching. Preston Wilson and Garcia in the outfield. Echeverria at short. Collins at third. Sadahara at first. Mike Redmond and Luis Castilla. So the Florida Marlins are set.
All right.
So we got 3 teams left.
Okay.
Going to go on to the Texas Rangers here.
Do you mind if I take a 30-second break?
Take a 30-second break. I'll do a little commercial here.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, give me that. I'll be right back, bro.
Here we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this next segment is brought to you by Frosty Strawberry Lemonade from Dollar Tree. It's going to cost you $1.25 in the year 2022, but it's quite delicious. Frosty Strawberry Lemonade. Won't you pick up a bottle today? It's not even that good, but it is just $1.25. Not looking to get any sponsorship because, again, I don't know if I'd buy it again, but I was curious. And this will be the first and last segment brought to you by Frosty Strawberry Lemonade. The rest of the show is sponsored by toilet paper. I use it to wipe my ass. What do you use it for? I've probably told that joke about 1,000 times in the last 3 months. Some people like it. Some people think it's stupid. It's both. I like it. I think it's funny. And I think it is childish and dumb. But it was going to be the TikTok that made me viral. It never happened. So I use it here on the show every now and then. Toilet paper. I use it back there. All right. John will be back here shortly. We're going to get to the Texas Rangers here very shortly. So we got a little comment here. Sponsorships, though, it's hilarious. Yeah. Toilet paper. I want to do like just general household products as sponsors. Toilet paper, water, the air we breathe, I think would be a good one. We were actually talking about sponsorships at work today. Like I should get like Cash to just sponsor me. Like this next segment brought to you by Cash. That way, if the government wanted to do that my way. All right, so let's get to the Texas Rangers. Some of the names are going to add this year: 19th century slugger Dan Brothers. Bump Wills going to be joining the universe in 2022. Scotty Fletcher, Pete Incaviglia, Frank Howard, Rusty Greer, Bobby Witt Sr.,
right,
and Greg Harris, the first ambidextrous relief pitcher in the Utopian Baseball universe history. We only have one spot to fill here, and that's backup catcher. And, don't get too
You already
excited.
have Pudge, you said, right?
Yeah, Pudge is going to get most of the at-bats. Jim Sundberg is there.
Yeah.
And we need a third one. So,
yeah, I would go to that list for that.
All right. So we're going to go on to page 501. We're going to look for a third catcher for the Texas Rangers.
Oh.
All right. So, again, this book just lists the two obvious ones. So let's go to Wikipedia. Texas Rangers, the baseball team. The baseball team.
Yeah, it's this is a great exercise too, Joey, for a guy like me, because it really sparks like various memories.
Yeah.
You just mentioned Jim Sundberg, and I just probably put my head back and said, man, I remember watching him play. I haven't even thought about the name in so many years. Like, not that he was a superstar, but it's like crazy, because when you're I mean, you're no young gun either, but I'm older than you are, I'm sure. And when you look back at how long been watching baseball, like since the late 70s, it's that's a lot of players, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
All right, so I found
I'm not going to be able to come up with, quickly anyway. You're on the right track.
The way Wikipedia has some of the articles for some teams, it doesn't have it for the Rangers. It just has like starting pitchers. So I'm going to go a different route. We're just going to do Texas Rangers catchers. History of Rangers catchers since the departure of Pudge. All right. Holy crap. So they have a list of 36 of them.
Yeah. I was actually taking a quick look myself here on my phone.
So we might have to go with the guy who we have listed as number one is probably one of the more recent ones, Robinson Chirinos.
Yeah, Chirinos. Yeah, I saw him. I would go. He had he's not bad.
Yeah.
He has 34 home runs as a catcher.
And some of these other guys I have elsewhere. I got Soto in Chicago. I got Pierzynski in Chicago.
Yeah, but that was
Napoli in LA.
That's what I was figuring.
We're going to go with Chirinos here.
I would put if Chirinos is not claimed anywhere else, which I know he's not.
Yeah.
Then I would go with him.
Let's do that. All right, Texas Rangers are set.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to have some fun because we're going to do Laura Stone's two-time champion Atlanta Braves. We're just going to have a bunch of homeless guys to this team.
Oh, boy.
And actually,
that's got to be painful for you to put that hat on. Although I will agree, that's a nice hat, though. It really is a nice hat. And don't let anybody ever tell you I said
watching.
that.
They're aware of it.
I know. I'm being funny about it, but it is a nice hat.
Actually,
my favorite Brave uniform is that the powder blue road uniform.
Sure.
That Dale Murphy used to wear.
Yeah, and
Glenn Harper, those guys. I think that was pretty close. But yeah.
So the Braves are actually pretty much set because between Laura and Brian Custard and a couple other Braves fans, we've been filling this for the last couple months. Tyler Flowers is going to be added at catcher.
Okay. Really? Okay. I mean, I know that he's not very popular among a lot of Braves fans, but I think he's pretty good.
Yeah. We're going to add Mark Lemke
at second base.
Austin Riley. Yeah, Austin Riley hasn't been added yet, so we're going to add him and Dansby Swanson. A couple of old school outfielders, Rico Carty, Tommy Holmes, and Now we're going way, way back to the 19th century, Harry Stovey.
Yeah.
And then a guy who actually pitched for the Boston Braves, Johnny Sane, is going to be added to, again, a team that has won the first 2 championships here in the universe. Henry Aaron, Eddie Matthews, Chipper Jones, Dale Murphy,
Right.
Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albis. Just tons and tons of talent. We haven't even mentioned the pitching. Maddox.
Yeah.
Spahn, Kid Nichols, Phil Niekro, Tommy Glavine.
Negro, yeah, he was great.
So, I mean, again, on
Knuckleball.
paper, what's that?
No, the knuckleball with Negro. I mean, he was, and
Yeah.
also his brother Joe.
Yeah.
They both were great, but Phil was the more well-known one.
Yeah. Tim is suggesting Claudelle Washington. Now,
I swear to God, Tim and I must think alike, because Claudelle Washington, he played right field. He was a lefty.
Yeah.
And in fact, he was the left-handed right fielder in that game we talked about on July 4th, 1985, against the Mets, the Braves, at Fulton County Stadium. He was the one. He was the starting, and he was an all-star.
Yeah,
Claudelle was, and had a rifle of it. I'm glad Tim brought him up, because I was just about to. I don't know, because I didn't know if you had him, and he's very much off the radar. But I'll tell you, he had a long career. He bounced around a lot, but the peak of his career was spent with the 5 years between like the late 70s and the mid 80s with the Braves. So I mean, if he's not on there, man, and you have a spot for him, I completely agree with Tim. I would put him in.
Well, I tell you what, and this is exactly why we're saving the Durham Bulls for last, because the Durham Bulls are going to pull from all 32 teams.
Okay.
So it doesn't look like we have room for Atlanta. However, for the Durham Bulls, and we're going to go over their entire roster here so that we can tell you that, a lot of teams are represented. Their catcher, Josh Gibson.
Yeah.
They also have Jorge Posada. We've got at first base, Johnny Mize and Dick Allen. Second base, we've got 2 current guys. We've got Keston Hiura, Max Muncy. We'd like to add a second baseman tonight. Third base, we have Gio Urshela and Buddy Bell. Shortstop, we have Maury Wills, Gleyber Torres. Outfield, a lot of talent. Carlos Beltran, Monty Irvin, Dwight Evans, Hideki Matsui, J.D. Martinez, Bobby Bonds, Dave Kingman, Jesse Burkett is their 19th century star. We're going to add an outfielder tonight, and I think Claudelle Washington would be a great fit.
I think he would be. So who do you have left that now going back to the Braves then?
For the Braves, so they have at catcher, we have McCann, Lopez, and Flowers.
Okay.
First base, we have Freeman, Adcock, and Bob Horner.
Yeah, Horner.
Second base, we have Ozzie Albis, Negro League Hall of Famer Saul White, and Mark Lemke.
Right.
Third base, Chipper Jones, Eddie Matthews, Austin Riley. Shortstop, Rafael Furcal, Johnny Logan, and Dansby Swanson. Just a ton of talent in the outfield. We got Henry Aaron, Ronald Acuna Jr., Dale Murphy, David Justice, Ron Gant, Andrew Jones.
Yeah.
And then adding Rico Cardi, Harry Stovey, and Tommy Holmes. And then the pitching, we've got Spahn, Maddox, Kid Nichols, Glavine, Niekro, Burdette, Max Fried, Steve Avery, and Johnny Sane.
So who are you missing now?
We're set for the Braves.
Oh, you're set for the Braves. Okay. Another guy, again, I don't know if you had him in the past, but, again, this is like just throwing it out there for future reference, and it's not any better than your list, but a guy like Brian Jordan, he was a hell of a guy, man. Again, he played football too, but that's a deeply rich organization. I don't mean money wise. I'm talking about talent,
just history and talent,
and just history. I mean, and looking back at even the years with Milwaukee and Boston, absolutely. But you have to be a baseball historian to be very knowledgeable about their years and the players that played in Boston and Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, even in the early years in Atlanta, but the bottom line is they, I mean, it's just an incredible, again, this is one of those things, like, I hate to admit this, on a cast like this, but they're an incredibly proud organization, and they've had tremendous talent and tremendous players, and they have a lot to be proud of.
Yeah. So we're going to have a good number of spots to fill for Durham. Let's get the Durham cap on here. This will be the final team. This will be the final team that we preview for these preview shows. Again, we're looking for.
This is going to be a fun one because we're pulling from everybody. You said, right, Joey?
We're going to pull from any franchise. We got first base, second base, third base. We need an entire infield basically, and then we need a starting pitcher. Here's who we're adding though, just because I think it's an interesting story, a great character. Doc Ellis is coming to the Utopian Baseball universe as a member of the Durham Bulls.
Okay.
So we basically need an infield, a first base, second base, third base, shortstop. Again, we've added Dave Kingman and Claudelle Washington to the outfield.
Okay.
We can always make an upgrade at relief pitching. Right now we've got Francisco Cordero, Brian Harvey, Mike Marshall, Don Massey, Calvin Schiraldi, Joe Kelly, and Brent Suter.
Mm-hmm.
But let's focus on the infielders now.
Yeah, let's do one position at a time, make it a little bit more. But so you said first base, you have
Johnny Mize and Dick Allen.
Okay. And then now there's going to be a lot of guys that we would think of.
Sure. And they could already be on rosters, but let's just throw names out there.
That's the whole thing.
Obviously, the obvious ones like Gehrig and,
well, even I'm sure Hernandez is gone, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, what about a guy like Steve Garvey?
I have Garvey with the Dodgers.
Okay. He could have been with also San Diego.
Sure. Yeah.
But all right. So let's just think it through then. You know more about what's been eradicated from, who's not available anymore. So
yeah, or guys that had a great 2 or 3 years that you probably wouldn't think of right off the bat, because if they're obvious, they would have probably already been rostered. So,
but that's the whole thing.
Like a current player.
That's the first base. A current player, right? I mean,
or again, like a guy that just fizzled out after having 2 or 3 really good years. Let's see. I'm looking at other teams and just see if anything.
Is Olerud gone?
Who?
Olerud, John Olerud.
I have Olerud in Toronto.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Mark Grace is gone.
So I don't think I have Grace. Oh, wait, let me check. Let me just double check.
He was a hell of a first baseman.
Yeah.
With the Cubs.
All right. Let me just.
If he's not rostered, then yeah, that would be my choice.
Well, the thing is,
what about Will Clark? I mean, he's probably
Giants,
definitely
right? Clark. Yeah. He's a favorite of mine.
Yeah. I'm just thinking. Grace would be my choice if he's not rostered, but if he is, then we got to continue.
So the only reason I'm not going to use Grace is that I actually used Grace in 2020, and in the first 3 years of the universe, and this is year 3, I'm trying to avoid having guys on multiple teams because we could be expanding this at some point to say okay, this is just an entire franchise where you have a 24-man every night, a 40-man, and then kind of a taxi squad, if you will. So I want to still kind of tie Grace to Chicago for now.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so you want to stick with right? No, that makes complete sense because he is one of those. Well, and fair enough, and he is one of those guys that he is tied to Chicago. I mean, there's no doubt.
Sure,
we're thinking about a little bit off the beaten path here to a certain extent. So, let me.
So right now, because again, all of the obvious ones are going to be there. I have a list right now. It's a website called baseballegg.com. It has the top 100 first basemen of all time. So obviously the top 5 are in there, top 10. If I see a name that I don't recognize in the universe, I'm gonna suggest that. But again, all of these guys might be spoken for, if you will.
Well, that's the thing, right? You have a lot of players that you've already, taken for various teams, and I'm doing a similar thing, Joey.
Yeah,
and I have a couple of my go-to websites, in general, but I mean, Justin Smoke with the Blue Jays.
I think I might have some bigger names here. What about Bill White?
Well, Bill White, he's going back a little bit. He was one of the Yankees announcers, right?
Yeah, he played for the Cardinals and Phillies. He was the president of the National League when
Yes, he was. In fact, he, also, let me get back on camera because I know he was in the booth for the Yankees with Phil Rizzuto.
Yeah.
But you're right, he was the nationally president during that whole Pete Rose situation.
Yeah. So I think
but also clearly before our time. I mean, I'm sure I didn't watch him play, but he had probably just recently retired when I started watching baseball, but at that point, or just around then. I just don't remember. But yeah, that's a good point, man. He was well regarded as a really good, solid player.
I think we're gonna go with Bill White.
Yeah, I completely I agree with you, no doubt.
All right,
he had a great career. He had a really good career, no doubt about it.
Same website here. They got the top 100 second baseman, and again, I'll probably defer to you. I'm going to give you a couple names here, and I'll give you final say here.
Yep.
Again, a lot of these names are already spoken for. There's 2 actually in the top 20. There's a guy named Joe Gordon, who I believe was a MVP at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then a gentleman named Newt Allen, who it looks like was in the Negro Leagues. I'm not familiar with him. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
You're right.
So we could go with either one of the. Joe Gordon, I think, had. Is he I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer or not. Let me.
I mean, I never heard the name before, so I don't know. I really don't.
Joe Gordon, all right, 268, 253 homers. Played for the Yankees for 6 years. Played for the Indians for 4. He was the MVP in 42. 9-time All-Star, 5-time champion.
He could be
got 83% of the vote when he went into the Hall of Fame in the Veterans Committee. I think that would be a.
That's the guy. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what those are for that position. Those are Hall of Fame numbers.
And
or especially,
they don't really have a lot at that position. Like Keston Hiura, Max Muncy, they're fine ball players, but I think Joe Gordon, would be the.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think that's good. No, I'm with you 100% on that one.
All right. So Tim is saying Bob Horner. We actually have Bob Horner with the.
Yeah, I'm a big Bob Horner fan. I really enjoyed why he was something else. He didn't have a long career. I think it was like 8 or 9, 10 years at max, but he did a lot of damage, certain years, and he was something to be reckoned with, no doubt about
it. For third baseman, the guy they have listed as the 11th best third baseman of all time is actually not in our universe. Is Ken Boyer, who played for the Cardinals.
That makes sense. Yeah, so he's not in there for you. Okay.
280 homers, 2,100 hits, 287 batting average, 11-time All-Star.
Yeah. That makes sense. So he had over 2,000 hits, huh? Wow.
2,100, yeah.
That's a lot of damn hits. And you need that's your third third or you how many third basemen do you need left?
I just need one more because we have Ursula and Buddy Bell, and I think
You said
Boyer
Buddy
is probably
Bell,
better
yeah,
than
okay.
both of those guys.
I think that
And
he's
this website has him listed as the 11th best ever.
Yeah, I would go with him. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And so that's a lot of
And then
I know the name pretty well too. I just didn't know the specifics on the stats, you know.
Shortstop, the top, let's see, top 13 are in there.
Okay.
Let's see. I got to look at some of these rosters. It's so hard to keep track of all this in my head. Appling's in there, Boudreaux, Cronin, Fregosi.
I can't believe you can do it, actually.
Oh, it's hard. Bobby Wallace is the highest ranking that Bobby Wallace.
That you don't have in there already?
2,300 hits, 1,100 RBIs. Shortstop pitcher managed. He invented the continuous throwing motion as a shortstop. He's in the Hall of Fame. He was inducted in 1953 by the Veterans Committee. Terrible manager. He only won 28% of his games as a manager. I don't know if that's the obvious pick. I think there might be a better selection.
What
about Joe Sewell? JC, the guest on my show last week, said that Joe Sewell owns a record for like the least amount of strikeouts for a. I want to look at his stats.
Yeah.
Joe Sewell, 312, 2,200 hits, 1,000 ribbies, 1977 Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I remember his. I remember his name, and I knew he was not a big deal, but I mean he had some offense. I mean, see, the thing about that position is the shortstop position is you always look for, especially in the earlier years, you look for the defense. You know, I mean, but you know, it did evolve a little bit with Ripken and obviously Garcia Parra, you know, Jeter and A-Rod and those guys. But, you know, Ozzie Smith is the guy that, and Gary Templeton are the guys that you look to. And you know, that was kind of what the position was, like, you know, 8-9 home runs a year, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, Gold Gloves or close to it. You know, hitting second in the lineup and hitting 300 and you know, a 380 OBP, the whole thing. Alan Trammell kind of changed it too a little bit. You know, we all know that, but then it evolved, and now it's a little, not a power position, but it's not unusual for guys to hit, you know, between 20 and 30 home runs there. But what I'm trying to think of, you know, I mean, do you have Pee Wee Reese? I mean, you know, Barry Larkin.
Yep, we got them.
We all had you know, just to kind of like have some humor here, but it's not humor because it's remember Jose Oquendo with the Mets. I mean, that guy couldn't hit a lick, but he would come up with a big hit every now and then. But I mean, you know, he was like you know, it was like he was like Ordonez light.
Yeah,
honestly, because he was almost as good. I mean, he became a coach in the league, even for the Cardinals. But he was a great defensive shortstop, and he just couldn't hit. But he would come up with a big hit, and Ordonez would a little better than that. But I digress a little bit. But you know, that you can go through a long list of. I guess my overall point here is that you can go through a long list of shortstops that were great defensive shortstops that, you know, didn't have the numbers offensively that, you know, you might be looking for or would pop up on the list that you're looking at, or even that I'm looking at, and that would be in my mind. But you want to come up with the right combination is, I guess, the best way to do it.
Sure. Tim is suggesting Dickie Thon. We actually have him in Houston.
Yeah, he's another one. Good. That's another one from Tim. That's a good suggestion.
So for the final selection, I think I found So I found a pitcher named Dazzy Vance, who I'm familiar with from different books I've read.
Mm-hmm.
Dazzy Vance, 200 or 197 wins, 140 losses, Hall of Fame in 1955. He's the only pitcher in history to lead the National League in strikeouts 7 straight seasons. He was also a journeyman. He played for the Pirates, Yankees, Dodgers, Cardinals, Reds, back to the Cardinals, back to the Dodgers. MVP in 24, Triple Crown in 24, led the league in wins twice, ERA 3 times, pitched a no-hitter. He's a journeyman. I think he fits this Durham Bulls team because they're all journeymen basically at this point. And he's 55th on the list for starting pitchers, and the top 54 are already in there. The names that are behind them are much lesser names that I'm not as familiar with. Like, I'm not going to put, like, I don't know, like, again, all of these names are pretty much represented.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm going to do. Dazzy Vance, we're going to put on the Durham Bulls, which pretty much rounds it out then. So we've got everyone pretty much represented. Again, the rosters are fluid. So if you don't hear your favorites tonight or the last 3 weeks, there will be a season 4.
Yeah.
We're going to bring back John Keeney next year. Maybe we'll get John in the East show.
Yeah.
And you'll have some say in the Mets roster. But the Mets, I know it's a South Division show, but since I have you here, John, tell me about this roster. Tell me about this Mets roster. We got Mike Piazza, Todd Hundley, and Duffy Dyer at catcher. We got Pete Alonso, Keith Hernandez, and Lucas Duda at first. We got Jeff McNeil, Edgardo Alfonso, and Wally Backman at second.
Okay.
David Wright, J.D. Davis, and Ray Knight at third. Howard Johnson, Jose Reyes, Bud Harrelson at short. Turkey Stearns, Darryl Strawberry, Michael Conforto, Lenny Dykstra, Curtis Granderson, Mookie Wilson, Tommy Agee, Don Clendenin, and Cleon Jones in the outfield. Seaver, DeGrom, Gooden, Kuzman, Matlack, Darling, Bob Ojeda, Tim Keefe, and Noah Syndergaard at pitcher. And then in the bullpen, we got Franco, Orozco, Wendell, Cook, McDowell, Lugo, and the recently passed away Jeff Innes.
Yeah. It was sad. It was sad to see that one, man.
Yeah,
he was a very young man. Now with catcher, well, first of all, incredible roster. You're hitting. Those are all the names. Or mostly, like I would say, 96% of them. One of my, I have my favorites, and I think you know who they are. Guys like Hernandez, and I think Tim. We talked about this a little bit when we had our chat. And guys like Strawberry and Gooden and Carter and teams from those mid '80s, but also some of the later ones with David Wright and even Al Leiter. That game and I think it was the '97 or '98 wild card coming up big on a complete game shutout. But one of my favorite Mets growing up was from the catcher position was John Stearns. Now, John Stearns was a linebacker also in his college years. I think he was don't believe me, I think I knew it at one point, but I don't know what college he played for. But he was a pretty solid linebacker. They were smaller in those days, but he played that position so well, man. And and you may have had him already in previous years. I would imagine you may have, or maybe you didn't. I don't know. But if I'm ranking Mets catchers, yes, it's definitely Piazza and Carter. But Jerry Grody is, you can't even, it's hard. But you have to go Piazza. He's a Hall of Famer. Sure. And Carter's a Hall of Famer too, but he's a Hall of Famer as an Expo, and probably had his best years with the Expos. You could argue that Piazza had his best years with the Dodgers. Yeah. Even though it was pretty similar, and 6 years and 8 years, I think that was the difference. But you gotta. I mean, ultimately, you gotta go. I mean, I'm just speaking for myself. I'm going with Piazza, and then Carter. Carter has a world championship, and Grody. But I'm telling you, the fourth is Hundley was really great, no doubt. 96. I think he broke that home run record as a catcher, right? 41. And that was a team that had Bernard Gilkey, and Lance Johnson. That 96 team that wasn't really that good because they had no pitching, but they scored a lot of damn runs. The weird thing about it is, Joey, if you combine that offense with the pitching we've had in recent years, probably would be pretty successful because those guys just hit. They flat out hit.
Yeah.
All they did was hit. I mean, it wasn't even like 3-run home runs. They scored runs, man. They hit a lot of, had a lot of total bases, and especially those three guys. I think it was Bernard Gilkey, who we acquired from the Cardinals, by the way, in a great trade. And then Lance Johnson was one of the best leadoff hitters. If you look at that one particular year, one of the best leadoff hitters we've ever had in one season. Obviously, we've had others, but the bottom line is, I mean, that was he was a tough one. He really was.
Yeah.
John Stearns, was I would say fourth in the organization from a catching standpoint.
And I can tell you right now, a guy like John Stearns definitely has a future in the universe because obviously we're going to be adding people every year. It turns out the reason we went with Duffy Dyer this year was because his daughter is a member of this universe.
That's fantastic, man.
So we wanted to.
That's great. That's all good, man. I love that. Yeah. And that's a lot of fun. And whenever you see a thing like that, and then that's right, you always have the future. So if you want to go down a position, I'm not gonna. I don't have photographic memory anymore, but first base. I mean, Willie Montanez. Remember him? I mean, you didn't have him there, right? Didn't you?
Nope. I have. So I took my.
Now I'm going back to memory, and I have better memory from like 1978 than I do from 2022, if I'm being honest. But the
reason I went Duda as the third is that's my daughter's favorite player.
Well, there you go. No, and far be it from me having a daughter too to argue with that. But again, for the future, Willie Montanez, you do remember him. I mean, he was a really good player, and he held down that position on bad teams, no doubt about it. They didn't win a lot of games. They would average, I would say, 65 to 70 wins a year. Between the time that Seaver got traded, in the mid. Well, I guess that was 77, but they were going downhill at that point. That's a whole political discussion with the Mets and everything because things were happening. But they were that's unfortunately exactly when I became a fan of the Mets in 78, 77. When Seaver got traded, and I really never saw his best years with us. And then, of course, he came back and all that. But those teams were fun to watch at times. Wow. And Montanez was one of those guys. Claudelle Washington, we mentioned earlier, he spent, I think it was 80 or 81. I think it was like half a year or a full year, but he spent time as a Met too. And that's why the name resonates probably with Tim as well, if I'm being honest, with us but I remember him more so as a Brave,
Sure.
So these are the names that pop up in your head. But even though those teams were bad, they had some good talent, and those are some talented players.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does wrap up the South Division preview show. I want to thank John Keeney for playing GM for 6 of the 8 teams.
I don't think I did a very nice job, but I appreciate that, Joey.
If your team does well this year, you have John and Tim to thank for helping out tonight. If they do terribly, then we'll get you their home phone numbers here at the end of the show. So again, the next time you'll see me will be Monday at about 3:00. We're going to be live from the spring training facilities as we get underway with spring training games on Monday, February 28th. John, again, thanks for being here tonight. We're
Thank you, Joey. No problem. My pleasure,
we'll see a
brother.
lot of John in 2022.
My pleasure, brother. Always.
And this Tuesday, Having a Catch season finale with Tim St. Clair, and we're going to be streaming Long Gone afterwards. So it's going to be a big night, our biggest show yet. That's going to be Tuesday. Everyone have a good night, and we'll see you Monday.
Take care, guys. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.